Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started. Spokane police investigating a man for scamming at least 2 people who thought their money was being invested in cryptocurrency. According to court documents, that suspect got away with more than $100,000. KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk is looking into how the victims were tricked. Kyle?
Well, these victims thought this man was a legitimate investor, but they got suspicious when he stopped returning calls and emails, and they couldn't get their money back. Spokane police have interviewed not 1 but 2 people who say they were tricked into giving a man tens of thousands of dollars, believing he was a cryptocurrency investor. The first victim, an Uber driver, told police a passenger he picked up claimed to work for a company out of Scottsdale, Arizona that traded cryptocurrency. Over the course of 7 months, the victim ended up sending close to $20,000 through Apple and Google Pay. He asked for $2,000 back to pay for taxes, and when he went to cash the check, it bounced, and the suspect went radio silent. We aren't naming that suspect because he hasn't been formally charged with a crime, but police believe he scammed another person out of even more money. A woman came forward with a similar story and said she met the suspect playing poker at Northern Quest. She told police she sent 9 payments totaling nearly $85,000. When she asked for $10,000 back, the suspect sent $3,000 and disappeared. According to the search warrant, police in Phoenix believe the same man conned an Arizona resident out of $18,000 using the same scam. Authorities believe the man has since left Spokane and could be living in Tennessee. And those court documents also show that this man has a warrant out for his arrest in Los Angeles for theft over $400. Police are continuing to investigate. In the newsroom, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Kyle, thank you very much. Well, despite the city's fast approaching deadline for the State Department of Transportation to clear out the homeless camp near I-90, we learned today that many of those campers likely won't be leaving anytime soon. Today, the state fired back at the city with a strongly worded letter highlighting where they say the city is falling short. The letter states the city's deadline to start clearing the camp by next week is irrational, and it also states the city, starting with the mayor, is more preoccupied by optics than action. The joint letter from the DOT, Commerce Department, and WSP points out that the quick removal of the homeless camp contradicts the right-of-way safety initiative, which requires local governments to work with WSDOT and Commerce to transition people living on state-owned property to safer and more permanent housing. They write, quote, "The city's deadline implies clearing the encampment, which will simply force the most vulnerable to relocate to other city, county, state, and private property within the area." The letter continues that following the city's demands solves nothing, and finding common ground with the state is what makes sense and what is legally required. Now, to read that letter in its entirety, just head to our website, krem.com, or text us the word letter to 509-448-2000, and we'll send that link directly to your phone. Meanwhile, the state's letter placed a lot of the responsibility for the camp's continued growth at the feet of the city. So today we talked with Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward about her reaction to the letter and how we got to this point.
It started as an orchestrated protest and was allowed to grow because WSDOT wouldn't do anything about activity on their own property.
Mayor Woodward says her initial reaction to the letter was that she is ready to sit down and further the conversation with the Washington Department of Transportation. In the letter addressed to the city, WSDOT, the Department of Commerce, and State Patrol say Spokane has lacked accountability. But Mayor Woodward says the growth of the encampment was, quote, allowed because WSDOT wouldn't do anything about activity on their property, end quote. She says despite the city not owning the land and as a result not being able to move campers out of its own jurisdiction, the city has worked in other ways to maintain the camp and surrounding area. Meanwhile, coming up in about 10 minutes, we are sharing what life has been like for neighbors living near that homeless camp near I-90. Also tonight, the city of Spokane has put Jules Helping Hands on notice to remove the cooling tent that it set up in that area. The city's fire marshal is demanding the tent be removed by this Thursday at 4 p.m. If it's not removed, a $536 fine will be issued every day it remains standing. All right, let's talk weather now today because it's starting to feel like fall. In fact, fall just 2 days away now. Let's get over to Chief Meteorologist Jeremy the Goo with what we can expect for the rest of the week. Jeremy?
Yeah, second to last night of summer. Whoa. The hell happened so fast. Here we sit at 61 degrees tonight, clear skies overhead, and a dew point of 33, wind calming down. All of those things tell me temperatures will continue to drop, and they will do just that. Overnight, fall down into the 40s, mid 40s in Spokane, upper 40s in Coeur d'Alene. You're in the low 40s in Sandpoint and Bonners Ferry. You head out toward, say, Colville or even Grand Coulee. Your temperatures are in the mid to low 40s. Low 50s out in Moses Lake or Ritzville, and down to the south, its temperatures hovering pretty close to 50. By tomorrow afternoon, you basically take today, add about 3 to 4 degrees and a little bit of wind. Wind will pick back up as we move through the day tomorrow. Notice it doesn't really get going until about 11 a.m. Once it starts, we're talking another breezy day across the region before we have a cool, wet start to fall.
Sounds good, Jeremy. We'll check back in with you later in the broadcast. And now to our night beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. Today, a Post Falls man was arrested for distribution of child pornography. 29-year-old Travis Jordan Dawson was arrested on 3 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor by distribution and 7 counts by possession. This comes after multiple cyber tips prompted a police investigation. Dawson's digital devices have been submitted for an in-depth search. If more is found, additional charges could be added. Another arrest was made in a series of drive-by shootings that left a young mother paralyzed. Today, Zachary Seaton made his first court appearance for his alleged involvement in a series of drive-by shootings back in May. Seaton was charged with 2 counts of drive-by shooting and 1 count of first-degree assault. Seaton pleaded not guilty. His trial was scheduled for November. Earlier tonight, police responded to a call of a woman who fell from a 3rd-floor window at 2nd and Division. We are told the woman fell from one of Catholic Charity's housing units and was rushed to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. That area was blocked off and there were traffic delays in the area as police investigated. We will keep you updated on any new developments in this ongoing situation. An update to some breaking news from last night of a man killed after being trapped under a truck near Madelia and Main Avenue. Today, we now know that according to initial reports from Spokane police, it indicated the truck was not his, and it appears that he may have been trying to steal a catalytic converter. Last night, when Spokane police arrived on scene, they found a jack used to lift that truck had failed. And that was your night beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just text us the word night to 509-448-2000 and we'll send them directly to your phone. In your national news now, in Chicago, investigators are on the scene of a powerful explosion that ripped through the top floor of an apartment building, and now emergency crews are searching the massive pile of debris for survivors.
We had to get our technical experts in here to shore up with struts to make sure we didn't leave any victims underneath any of the debris. A lot of debris to remove.
First responders transported at least 8 people to the hospital, and they are searching the rubble now for survivors. Fire crews expanded their search to the building across the street after 1 victim was struck there. CBS News has confirmed the building has failed 10 inspections over the past decade. The most recent, in 2020, cites an issue with a gas appliance connection. Well, the Grant County Sheriff's Office is asking for help tonight finding a missing couple. They were scheduled to arrive home from the airport, but never made it. 53-year-old Teresa Bergman and her husband, 54-year-old Charles Bergman, are both from Moses Lake and arrived at the Spokane airport after midnight on September 18th. Charles was going to pick Teresa up, but neither of them returned home and were reported missing by family members the following day. They may be in a 2013 Chevy Impala with a Washington license plate reading BLU 5395. Anyone with information is urged to call that phone number right there at the bottom of the screen. Well, in Coeur d'Alene this week, a $75,000 public art project will be dedicated on Friday. The Monument to Peace and Unity is meant to be a, quote, commitment to eliminate racism and prejudice. It'll stand 24 feet tall and will be considered the gateway to downtown. That dedication will take place this Friday at 10:30 in the morning. Hard to believe, but we are now less than 50 days out from the midterm election, and it's also National Voter Registration Day. So if you live in Idaho, you have until October 14th to register to vote. Then early voting starts on October 24th. In Washington, you can register to vote anytime, even on Election Day. Mail-in ballots will be sent out starting on October 21st. The midterm elections are on November 8th. And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time. But don't go to bed just yet. After the break, we talked to a woman who lives by that homeless camp near I-90. She tells us what she's experienced when we come back in just 90 seconds.